and soul artist, Lenea Herew, live from Jamaica, Manchester, Jamaica. Hi, Lenea.
Hi, peace and rainbows. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
It's awesome to have you, and I know I'm very conscious of your time, so I'm going to go straight into the questions, which you've been
Okay.
so kind to agree to answer. Basically, Linnea is somebody with, I would say, the voice of like India Ari, and she is an incredible musician, but she's basically kept her music and her entire creative process very independent from my knowledge. She's released her own album. She writes her own songs. Her and her daughter even have some books coming out, and I really want to hear about that. So what I'm really excited about, and I want to know about Linnea, is how you've managed to keep so independent and so in basically being your own boss, because it's something I think artists tend to struggle with. You either end up working for somebody else or compromising on your own vision somehow. So that's what we want to talk about today. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Is that a question that I should respond to now? So
Or
independent.
just an intro? Basically, yeah, I just wanted to ask, how would you describe yourself? Would you say you're an artist or would you call yourself an activist?
That's an interesting question. So my definition of myself expands as I expand, and as I grow, my definition of myself also grows. I would say I'm an active artist, and I've started to call myself a mistress of the art.
Hmm.
That's a seat that I feel very comfortable sitting in because I do various art forms, as you've mentioned. I'm a singer, I'm a musician, I'm an actress, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, and I do healing arts like African yoga. So I feel like I think there was a time when I was younger, I may have said that I was an activist, but actually I'm an active artist, which I quite like.
I
Yeah.
like that as well. What made you come up with that? Would you say it's your views that make you the active artist, or is it how you put yourself in your art? What?
To be honest, what made me come up with active artist was you just giving me those two words.
I
That's
love
how
it.
active I am. Right. So I've got two words, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to call myself an activist because I don't know exactly what that means. And I don't know if I sit in that fully. I don't know if I can justify myself as an activist, but I'm definitely an artist, and I'm definitely actively being artistic in these various ways. So that's where I got it from. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what would you then say is the role of the active artist in society, in a society that needs your contribution, in particular, your voice?
Me personally, because I really try and stay away from speaking for other people, and we've got so many different types of artists. Everyone's on a different journey, like a soul journey, a physical journey. Some people are on political journeys. So my role is to honor myself by expressing myself in the various ways that I express myself. And my desire is that I can inspire and uplift other people while I'm honoring my own expression of self.
Beautiful. And how would you say that your art has then developed you? How has it brought you in a journey where you've become richer as a person?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess because I've always been an expressive person from childhood, it wasn't really a choice, it was just a way of being. So the more that it just allows me to be. So the more that I allow myself to be by expressing myself, the more I get to know myself, the more I get to appreciate the gifts that I was born with. Like some gifts people are born with to keep to themselves. My gift is very much a sharing gift.
Hmm.
So the more that I honor how I feel by expressing myself, the more it enriches my experience of the person who I am. And I definitely feel that because like we grow up and our opinions change. So some things that I may have thought 5 years ago, I don't even think like that anymore. So, for example, in my new book, there's poems in the book that I don't actually agree with some of the poems,
Hmm. Doing
but I'm
one.
still publishing the book. And I love that because it's showing me how I honored myself in that moment and I expressed how I felt in that moment. But it is a journey, and some of my expressions, some of my thoughts do change. just want to check, is the light getting too dark out here? Because the sun is
Yeah,
going
you're
back.
right. It is a little bit. It's totally up to you what you want to do. I went, made you go through the faff of showing me how beautiful outside is there in Jamaica. So it's up to you if you want to go back where there's light, or
Just bear with me one moment. Is that okay?
yeah, sure thing. While you're doing that, I just wanted to add that Lenea's, you can check Lenea out online. She has a SoundCloud page. She has her music up online, and it's actually really, it's so inspiring how beautiful and how talented she is as an artist, and giving her expression. So Lenea, I'm just like backclipping and adding stuff to like the background of what it is that you do as an artist. And she also is part of a really funny sitcom as well that was set up in London. I watched a bit of that. It was good acting skills.
Oh my gosh, did you watch this better? Is that too bright?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, great.
Awesome. And now I actually I'm gonna go a bit zen because I really love how self embracing you are, and how I don't know if I know you've been to acting school. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know what other form of official education you had as in the arts, in music and whatnot, but I know that as we tend to become more quote unquote educated about how to be an artist, we tend to be self-rejecting, and we tend to question ourselves a lot, and often it makes us go into creative blocks where we don't just be, like you said. And I really liked how you said that you just are yourself, you just allow yourself to be. Is that how you come out of creative blocks then?
Yeah, because like everyone, well, like most people, I have had creative blocks, and I have had, like so many people project to you, this is what you need to be, this is how you have to express yourself, this is the box you need to fit in. So the way that I always get through it is kind of just coming out of that space of overthinking and just doing something, and also working on not being a perfectionist, because I can be quite an idealist, and for that reason it can stop you from actually creating, because you're waiting for the perfect circumstances, conditions, resources, whatever. And while you're doing that, that creative spark that's willing itself out of you is actually just burning inside and not coming out. So yeah, that is a way that I've been able to get through creative blockages, and also stepping away from certain environments, basically stepping away from certain type. If I find myself in a routine where I'm always around certain people, or I'm always in a certain environment, I just step out of it. And I like to throw myself out of my comfort zone quite often, because I find that also nourishes my experience and forces me to get to know myself beyond what I think I am, which is really comfort zone stuff.
Fantastic. And I'd love to hear actually now about your writing and the fact that your daughter is publishing. Is it 4 or 3 books?
She's publishing 4 books at the moment.
I want to know how you got that out of her. That's amazing. She's only 12.
Well, she's 13 now. Yeah, she was 12 when you met her.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything out of her. Basically, my mom's like, "What are you doing in the living room?" It was
This is the transportable studio.
And that is just so great. I mean, just this alone is the most amazing thing. I've got a portable studio for interviews. I've never done this before, and I'm really liking this idea. We could do so much of it.
Totally.
But yeah, in regards to my daughter, she's always loved reading, and I come from a family where we all read so much. And I homeschooled her on and off for a few years. So her 2 first pieces of writing are actually homeschool projects that I got her to do. Someone came around to the house, read her work, and said, "Hold on, this is publishable work." Wow. I was like, "No way! I really praise publishable work." But I read through it and I thought, oh, well, actually, this could be published. So that's how she got into it. It wasn't like, oh, Mom, I'm going to write a book. It was just a natural process, and me supporting her creative expression. And the last 2 books, which are like kind of like short novels, fairy tale type stories.
Are they the Marcus Garvey autobiography? Or?
Yeah, the Marcus Garvey autobiography is a factual book. Marcus Garvey is the first national hero of Jamaica. So she basically did a project documenting his life, what was so important about him, writing poetry about him, drawing a picture about him, and that was her project on Marcus Garvey. So that's it's creative in the way she's done it, but it's not fiction. The second book is called 8, 9, and 10, and it's a collection of short poems and short stories that she wrote when she was 8, 9, and 10. So those were the first 2 homeschooling projects. And I mean, they're very simplistic. They're matching her age and writing ability at the time. Okay. And then the next 2 books are a lot more advanced. One is called The Tale of Ocean, which is about the Yoruban Orisha Ocean. And it's just this story that she made up because once she was bored or she was probably like giving trouble. And I said, look, just go and write a story about Ocean. Go and research her, write a story. So it wasn't, for publishing. But when I read it, I felt that it had the writing style of, I think he's Nigerian, this author called Ben Humphrey.
I've read of it. Is he the one that did Things Fall Apart?
No, that's Chinua Achebe. Who actually read a lot of his work when I was pregnant.
Okay.
But which I don't know if that's the reason why she's writing so much, because I've literally eaten books when I was pregnant.
Wow.
And then she's got another book called Not Another Fairy Tale, which is a really beautiful, magical book. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's really inspiring. And the fact that you found the time, as you did while acting and while doing your own thing as a musician, to be able to homeschool your daughter is so brilliant. It's exactly the kind of space that an artist who's free to use their time as they dictate rather than being dictated to. I mean, I've met homeschooled kids before, and it's always inspiring for me to look up to that model. There's so much more, there's a spark to them that's basically a lot more alive than kids that just go through the route of the normal generic education system. It
wasn't like a picturesque ideal situation of, oh, we're homeschooling and everything. It wasn't that at all. It was quite difficult at times. I was a single parent and I was studying at drama school for the last year of her being homeschooled. And we had a lot of constraints and financial restrictions. But what was good is that usually when you have your child, once they enter the schooling system, that's it. It's like they're doing a 9 to 5, and it's only over the holidays that you get to spend that amount of time with your child. Where with us, we were just living, breathing, eating, everything together. And, that is a really valuable experience that we had that time to be close. Do you know what I mean? So, everything beyond the academics, I appreciate that we had that time to just be together.
Beautiful. Yeah, of course, when your mother's your teacher, what else can you ask for, really? But that leads me on to asking you, what are your influences, and what did you decide to model your own creative personality on? Like, who did you look up to and say, I want to be like that in my art or in my music?
Well, musically, I grew up in Jamaica, so I had a strong reggae influence, but my mother is very much into soul, so people like Ray Charles and Nina Simone and the old jazz greats like Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, they were very much a part of my musical staple diet growing up. But I also like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, just really commercial artists. So I grew up listening to a good mix of music. In Jamaica, people are very eclectic. And they listen to a lot of different music. In terms of who I based myself on now, that's very difficult because what I'm doing right now is I'm doing different art forms. I think growing up, I didn't really see anyone doing different art forms. I saw people who were really good in a separate art form. Yeah. So like, Michael Jackson, Bob Marley, lots of dancehall artists, they were good at their particular thing. And I really liked Michael Jackson for the fact that he did dance and acting and singing. So I think that he was a foundation for me. And I know that seeing him and seeing what he did, and obviously because a lot of children were acting with him, I feel that gave me a sense of feeling that I could do that thing. Like, oh, I could do that. Do you know what I mean? I could do that. So my influences aren't like, there wasn't one person that covered the entire spectrum of what I do now. And now I've gone into well-being and, yoga and stuff. I kind of feel like I don't really know. I'm not really trying to mirror any, like role model, but there are people in different walks of life that I really admire the work. And I really admire Oprah Winfrey. I really admire Tyler Perry because he's so determined, and he started off with these plays and they had singing, and then he went into the movies and he's got his own studio, and I just love that really independent spirit, which makes me want to add my two immediate role models for my attitude, so not necessarily my artistic expression, but my attitude, are my parents. And that's because my mother and my father both ran their own separate businesses that reflected their own interests. So my father had his own restaurant, my mother's a fashion designer, she always had her own designing company and shop that went along with that. So I grew up watching my parents being independent, not answering to anyone, being self-sufficient, and that kind of gave me the ethos underneath the work that I do.
Brilliant. That's really interesting. Okay, so you mentioned mainstream music, but you yourself, you're not a mainstream artist. You've made that conscious decision. How do you feel then about mainstream music and how it affects what your contribution is to the music world?
I don't know if being a mainstream artist is a conscious decision that I've made, because the way that I came into music was very much it's an organic default process, and I'll explain that. So I went to university and I studied commercial music, and on that degree you learn the different aspects of the music industry, so like production, music sociology, music marketing, etc., etc. It doesn't give you talent, but it gives you a lot of information that you need to harness your career, and it gives you a playground to play in, so you can like muck about and see what you like doing. So while I was at uni, one of my projects, and I tell this story all the time, so I'm going to go through it really quickly. So one of my projects was to create a book of songs on a theme. And at the time, because I come from a background where we're very culturally aware and embracing your heritage as African people, and just having that kind of attitude of it's great who you are, and kind of like I come from a non-conformist kind of background. So my theme for my songbook was freedom, and I wrote 6 songs around the theme of freedom, and they were all different, different aspects of the way I was looking at this theme. While I was at university, I started to perform and people started to ask me for CDs. So I put together a CD of the songs I was doing while I was at uni. I think I recorded 2 more songs, put it on the CD, and hence my recording artist career was born. But I was still at university and I was still playing in my playground. So it wasn't a conscious decision the way that I came into being a recording artist at all. I was literally honing my skills, honing my craft, and because of the theme that I chose, which was freedom, it then went into a niche market, of activism and self-awareness. But that's an aspect of who I am as a woman and who I am as a being, and it's an aspect of what I have to contribute. So now I'm working on my second album, which is called These Streets Are Purple. Hence my name changed to Purple Twa. This is all conscious now. It's all conscious stuff. I'm able to express other parts of me that aren't under the same theme as freedom. And some people find it quite surprising because they're like, hold on, aren't you the girl with the guitar? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm a multi-dimensional being, and we all are. So in answer to that question, that's how I came into this, conscious niche. And my influences are a mixture of mainstream and underground artists, and my vision for my music is for it to be mainstream, niche, and underground. So I've got songs that are mainstream songs that will be on my new album, and then I've got other songs that are just for niche markets.
I don't know why, but Buju Banton just came in my head really randomly.
That's interesting because he came in my head too, but Like,
I see him as I see him though as someone that does cover those three, would you say?
yeah, exactly. He's got some really mainstream songs. He's got his niche cultural. Then he's got his deep spiritual, almost like African folklore from the Western world. That's the way that I just want to express myself. Whatever people say it fits in after, that's fine. But when I'm creating, it just comes out how it comes out. And then, the marketing heads and stuff, they'll work out what to do with it.
Okay, brilliant. So you think that I mean we're in a time where art is selling at record prices, be it fine art in museums or be it film or be it even, mainstream music. Do you think that artists should consciously be producing for popularity and for making sure that their work is marketable then?
Is there an or that's going to come after that question?
No, you can add one.
Okay. Or do you think, okay, I recently told my mom that I've got a new title for myself because I'm always making up these titles, right? And the, and the titles, they go in alignment with how I'm feeling at the time. So one of my new titles, I think I made it up last week, right?
Hmm.
Is that I'm an inner peace enthusiast.
Hmm.
Okay? And inner peace is really important to me, and so is happiness. So the reason why I brought that up is because I think artists need to do what makes them happy.
Hmm.
Whatever makes someone happy, that's what they need to be doing. Okay? The more peace we have, the more self-expression from ourselves, not from what society is saying, you should do this, or you should be conscious, or you should be sexual. No, it's I want to explore this side of me, and I want to do this because I want to be popular. Some people, that's their desire. If that's what's rocking their boat, they are free souls. They come in as free souls. They need to honor. That's what honoring yourself is about. And if another person wants to come in and feel like a kind of responsibility for humanity and be like, you know what, I specifically want to make music to uplift people and inspire people, or they might not even feel a responsibility to humanity. They might just want to say, you know what, I want to make music that makes me feel good and happy, and I hope it rubs off on other people. That's my stance when it comes to music. That doesn't mean that I like all the music that I'm seeing. And sometimes I hear music and I'm offended. I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Why are you doing that? And I know we can go down the road of, oh, that's pollution, that's spiritually toxic, but that's not the space I want to hold. I just want to hold a kind of what makes you feel good, as long as you're not hurting people, and then we can all be selective and choose what we want to listen to.
Okay, brilliant. So coming back to you then, would you say your own music and output as an artist is affected by money or popularity? Or are you just then happy, you're just focusing on what makes you free and expressive?
Yeah, my own music is definitely, I like this idea, I'm going with it, and it sounds good, it makes me feel good. When I listen to it, I'm like, hey, this sounds amazing. And I know, because my mom taught me that you should never try and get everyone to like you. So I'm not even under the delusion that everyone will like what I'm doing, because no one likes what, no one, there's not one person in the world that everyone likes. It's just impossible. It's not even law, universal law. So who gravitates towards it, that's beautiful, that's a blessing, and who doesn't, that's also beautiful, that's a blessing, because you don't cook with all the ingredients in your kitchen. You're selective. You put together the ingredients that will make your stew taste the way you want it to taste. And that's kind of how I look at my music. I used to feel a lot more social responsibility. I
I
did.
sense that in your lyrics.
Well, not with that album. With that album, it was really, I was kind of grieving for my ancestors, and I was grieving for all the injustices in the world, and I was in that place. I wasn't observing it. I was in that space of all of those songs. That's really me trying to heal myself. It's a cathartic process, which is why I like Tyler Perry, because a lot of his stuff comes from him trying to heal from a lot of the experiences he's had. Yeah. So I feel that that's a great process, and I still create in that way. But I also create in a way of, oh, this sounds good. This note sounds good. So I know you've seen me doing like toning, where I'm not even saying any words anymore. I've just gone into a different, because it sounds good. So
it does definitely sound good.
Thank you.
No, it really is a blessing listening to you, actually. And Lenea performed for a gathering that I did once, and it was really, really awesome. But I mean, I've come up and hit my 20-minute mark, and I'm conscious of your time. So I mean, from what I've gathered so far, I was going to ask you one more thing about how abundance, then, like, for example, most people limit themselves based on financial independence, and how they might listen to you and think, oh, you're being very optimistic that I can do whatever I like and I don't care, it'll somehow get accepted, if I was to take a skeptical view. But it sounds like you have you're in a space of abundance, where you're just happy and abundant with what it is that you're producing, and you just have that mindset that attracts abundance. So that's probably my explanation to why it works for you to remain in that, to remain having that attitude where you can do what it is that you want to do and be okay with that.
First of all, I have got time. Secondly, my attitude to music is from a lot of experiences. I haven't just cooked up this. I haven't always had this outlook. Yeah, because I've been doing music for a long time. Thirdly, in terms of the financial aspect of it, it needs to feel good, because if it doesn't feel good to you, why would it feel good to other people? In terms of other artists and the way that they approach their work, now what I find is really important to look at is it a hobby or is it a career? So you've got the creative process, okay? You've got the creative process, that's fine, that's personal to you. But then you make some decisions after you've created your songs, whatever, yeah? Or you could do it before. Why are you making this music? Because I could just make music just to play at home. That's not my journey. That's not the path that I choose. I choose to create music and then to share it with other people. And the more that I've done that, the more confident I feel, like, actually, this is something that really works for me. This positively impacts other people, yeah? So, but it does influence, like what I said to you, I've got songs that are mainstream, I've got songs that are niche, I've got songs that are underground. My toning, what I do, I wouldn't look at that as a mainstream thing, but I'm really about honoring myself. So as long as it's come out of me, that means that there is a time and place on this planet where that can fit into. So I try not to filter what's coming out, but once it's come out, I go into my business head and think, okay, well, this is for this market, this is for this market. Some people from this market might not like it when I start doing some of that stuff. Am I going to, now that is the part where I start thinking, is that going to stop me from expressing this? And that's everyone's personal decision that they have to make. Are they trying to please people? Or are they trying to express themselves?
That's really interesting. I definitely learned a lot from that. It's so inspiring to get to speak to you always, Lenea, because it makes me think about my own creative process and become more conscious of the way that I'm sometimes censoring myself, honestly. It's good to be as honest to yourself as you can be, like you just said.
No, I appreciate that, because there have been times when there are things that I want to do, and honestly, I found myself in a state of fear. And I've realized over the past year, or the past couple of years, that I don't know when this happened, because I used to be quite rebellious and I didn't used to care what people think. But then I started to care what people thought.
Yeah.
So much so that I was filtering my expression, but I didn't give myself this gift, so who am I to filter it? And who is that person to make me feel like I should filter what I'm not even responsible for? Like, this is a divine expression of soul, of the Most High, whatever anyone's belief is. This is coming from a place that is intangible. You can't see it. You can only see it when it manifests into form. So I realized that I need to shake away those fears. And just like I said, in my book, I've got poetry that I don't even agree with. I don't even agree with what I've written, because I've grown or because I'm thinking differently, but I'm not going to filter it and take it out of the book, because the book is called In Honor of Me. So it's in honor of not the actual separate poems, but in honor of the gift of the expression that's coming out. And I want to honor myself by putting the book out and hopefully inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm interested in that already. I want to know details about that. And thank you. That just leaves me to thank you, Lenea, for your time. And I mean, the first time I heard you, I burst out crying because it was that inspiring. That kind of shocked you, didn't it?
Was it you that started crying?
Don't you?
I always remember I was toning, and this lady, this beautiful lady beside me, Mom, she started crying. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I know that my singing is making this lady cry, but I knew that it was healing for you.
Yeah,
so
it was just
reached out and touched you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it was you. This is even more special. I didn't realize it was you, you know.
Really? Oh, I thought you knew.
No, and I always have that as a story. That's why I'm making a CD that's only with the toning, and there will be no words.
Oh no way.
Bless you. Oh my God. And this, I love Rumi's Cave, and I've got to say shout out to all the Rumi's Cave in Pilgrim family and Sakina Pilgrim for inviting me down, because you know these things they put me on my path, and they make me know this is what you're doing. You don't even know what you're doing. You just need to keep doing it. So bless you. I'm so glad we shared that experience.
Yeah, no, me too. That was like my introduction to you and your music, and it's been awesome since then. So thank you so much, Lenea, again for your time and for joining.
Thank you, and may you all be blessed, and thank Divinity. Thank you so much
No,
for having me. Hota.
Thank you again. Take care, and I'll put this up on Facebook
Love
pretty
and
soon.
light. Peace
Bye.
and love. Bye-bye.
Bye.